In the last episode, Precious and Farouk prepared to begin their hunt for Elizabeth and Dyke, just shortly after Precious was informed that they had planned to use the mystical eggs in the Agba Evil Forest to break Agatha's enchantment on King David. As soon as Precious got the warning, she ran straight to Farouk, informing him that she needs him to gather his Ashimari warriors so they could all go in pursuit of Elizabeth and Dyke. But Farouk explained to her why gathering his warriors won't be possible, and suggested that only 2 of them go. Precious agreed, so Farouk went to ready the horses for their departure. Just a few minutes later, Farouk approached silently, leading 2 sleek horses saddled and ready. His footsteps were barely audible against the cobblestone, a testament to his years of training as an Ashimari warrior. "Your Highness," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with concern. "The horses are prepared. Are you certain you wish to depart immediately? Dawn is but a few hours away." Precious glanced at him sharply. "We leave now, Farouk. Every moment we delay is another moment Elizabeth and Dyke gain ground. I won't allow them to undo everything I've worked for." He nodded, though hesitation flickered in his dark eyes. "As you command. The Agba Evil Forest is treacherous at night. Perhaps we should consider—" "No," she interjected firmly. "I will not entertain any delays. Are you with me or not?" Farouk met her gaze, the weight of his loyalty pressing heavily upon him. "Of course, my love. I am with you, princess. Always. You know that. I know nothing, Farouk. But today you'll prove to me your so-called love for me," Precious responded. "Kill them for me? Help me kill them. And let's consolidate our position once and for all." She spoke further in a determined, sinister tone. Farouk then responded immediately, "Yes, my love, as you command." She gave a curt nod, mounting her horse with practiced ease. "Good. Then let's ride." Farouk swung himself onto his own steed, and with a swift kick, they galloped out of the palace gates. The rhythmic pounding of hooves against the earth echoed in the silence of the night, a relentless pursuit fueled by desperation and ambition. As they raced through the deserted streets, Farouk stole a glance at Precious. Her long ebony hair flowed behind her like a dark river, and her expression was a mask of steely resolve. He couldn't shake the unease that had settled in his stomach since they had received word from Agatha. "Your Highness," he ventured cautiously, "do you truly believe Agatha's warning is credible? That Elizabeth and Dyke possess the means to break the spell on the king?" Precious's grip tightened on the reins. "Agatha has never misled me, at least the few times I have employed her aid, so I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. If she says they can undo the enchantment, then we must prevent them from doing that at all costs." Farouk hesitated before pressing on. "But if the spell is broken and the king returns to his senses, perhaps it would be an opportunity to—" "Opportunity for what?" she snapped, her eyes flashing dangerously. "For him to cast me aside once more in favor of Amaka? To strip me of the power I've rightfully claimed?" "Forgive me," Farouk said quickly. "I only meant that reconciliation might be possible." "Reconciliation is a fantasy for the weak-hearted," she retorted coldly. "I have no intention of relinquishing my position." Farouk fell silent, his mind churning with unspoken thoughts. The landscape blurred past them, fields giving way to dense woodlands, as they sped toward the ominous silhouette of the Agba Evil Forest on the horizon. After a while, he tried again. "Princess, may I speak freely?" She arched an eyebrow but kept her gaze ahead. "Since when have you needed permission?" He took a deep breath. "I'm concerned about the path we're on, the alliances you've formed. Agatha is a powerful sorceress, but her intentions are shrouded in mystery. I fear she may be using you for her own ends." Precious let out a mirthless laugh. "Do not presume to understand the complexities of power, Farouk. Agatha and I share common goals." "And what goals are those?" he pressed gently. She turned to face him, her eyes narrowing. "To secure my rightful place as the sole heir to the throne. To lead my kingdom into a new era of strength and prosperity." "At the expense of your family?" he asked quietly. She bristled. "My family has never valued me. They've underestimated me at every turn. It's time they see what I'm truly capable of. Farouk's expression softened. Perhaps they underestimate you because you don't allow them to see your true self. She clenched her jaw, her voice low and dangerous. You're treading on thin ice, Farouk. He nodded solemnly. I apologize, Your Highness. They rode in silence for a few moments before the dense trees of the Agba evil forest loomed before them, their branches intertwining like skeletal fingers blocking out the moonlight. The horses won't go any further, Farouk observed as his steed whinnied nervously, resisting his commands. Then we proceed on foot, Precious declared, dismounting gracefully. She patted her horse's neck absent-mindedly before securing the reins to a low-hanging branch. Farouk followed suit, his eyes scanning the darkened woods. The forest is known for its enchantments and dangers. We should be cautious. Caution is for those who lack conviction, she replied dismissively. We have a mission to complete. As they stepped into the shadowed embrace of the forest, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of nocturnal creatures echoed eerily around them. Farouk felt a shiver run down his spine. Tell me about Agatha, he said, trying to mask his unease. How did you come to align yourself with her? Precious's lips curved into a sly smile. Agatha is the auntie of Elizabeth. I heard about her great exploits in the past, being the most powerful witch doctor in all the neighboring kingdoms. But I only got to know her when she helped me cast a spell over my father's head. And what does she gain from helping you now? Farouk asked in keen interest. She glanced at him sidelong. Why so many questions, Farouk? Do you doubt my judgment? Not at all, he replied quickly. I merely wish to understand the full scope of our alliances. Agatha seeks to restore the glory of the Apama lineage. She told me as much after we incapacitated her niece after I made a sacrifice in her shrine. Precious explained. Our goals align in that regard. Farouk's brow furrowed. The Apama lineage? You mean the people of the neighboring kingdom? We learned about them during our training as Ashamaris. Apparently, the bloodlines in the village that were a threat to us were all wiped out. Farouk commented. Not entirely, Precious responded cryptically. Powerful bloodlines have a way of enduring. They continued deeper into the forest, the canopy above growing denser until only slivers of moonlight pierced through. Strange plants glowed faintly along the path, casting an otherworldly illumination. Farouk couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. This place, it feels alive. That's because it is, Precious remarked. The forest is imbued with ancient magic. He paused, placing a hand on the hilt of his sword. Perhaps we should reconsider. If the forest itself is enchanted, we could be at a disadvantage. She rolled her eyes. Afraid of a few old spells? I expected more from you. It's not fear, he clarified. It's prudence. She waved a hand dismissively. We press on. As they walked, whispers seemed to float on the breeze, indistinct and haunting. Farouk strained to catch the words but could only make out fragments. Turn back. Danger. Sacrifice. Did you hear that? He asked, stopping in his tracks. Precious continued ahead. Ignore it. The forest plays tricks to deter the weak-willed. He hurried to catch up. But what if it's a warning? She shot him an annoyed glance. If you're so frightened, perhaps you should return to the palace. He squared his shoulders. My duty is to protect you. Then do so without incessant complaints, she retorted sharply. Farouk fell silent, though his unease only grew. He recalled tales from his childhood about the Agba evil forest. Stories of travelers who entered and were never seen again, of spirits that lured the unwary to their doom. Your Highness, he began tentatively. Have you considered that the forest might demand a price for our passage? She smirked. Let it demand. I am prepared to pay. He studied her profile, noting the determined set of her jaw. And what price are you willing to pay? Whatever it takes, she replied coldly. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, Elizabeth and Dyke moved cautiously along a narrow path lined with ancient trees whose bark was etched with mysterious runes. The soft glow emanating from the symbols bathed the path in a gentle light. Dyke's thoughts were a tumult of confusion and mistrust. He glanced at Elizabeth, her facial expression serene yet guarded. What Elizabeth had told him earlier was still ringing in his head. My name is Elizabeth Joyce. Joyce is my surname, but my mother's maiden name has always been kept a secret because of her family's past. My past. My mother's maiden name is Apama, and I am a direct descendant of King Mobu, the king your great ancestor Odimba helped defeat. This is my story. He couldn't believe it. All this while the girl he had been following to save Amaka was a descendant of the kingdom that enslaved his ancestors, the very one from Amaka's stories. So, in a quest to understand better, he mustered up his voice and asked, "So," he said, breaking the silence, "if what you are saying is true, that was how you managed to make us vanish from under Precious and Farouk's noses back there? You used your Apama witchcraft." Elizabeth then responded immediately, "Yes, you are absolutely correct." She took a deep breath. "Like I said, I come from the Apama lineage. My mother was one of them, though she left that life behind to protect me. I inherited certain abilities from her blood." Dyke's eyes widened. "The Apama? The very same people who waged war against our land? The ones known for their dark magic?" "Not all Apama practice dark magic," she corrected gently. "But yes, that is my heritage." He shook his head incredulously. "And you didn't think to mention this earlier? After everything we've been through?" "I wanted to," she confessed. "But I was afraid. The Apama are feared and mistrusted. I didn't want that stigma to cloud your judgment of me." He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. "This is a lot to take in. How can I be sure you're not working against us?" She stepped closer, her gaze earnest. "Because I've been by your side through every trial. I saved you from the Ashimiri warriors, guided us through the Whispering Woods, and stood against Precious and Agatha. My actions speak for themselves." He studied her, conflicted. "I suppose they do. Please," she implored, "trust that I'm on your side." He hesitated before nodding slowly. "I want to believe you, but you have to be honest with me from now on." "Agreed," she said, relief evident in her voice. They resumed walking, the path winding deeper into the forest. The air grew thicker, the sense of damp earth and wildflowers mingling. Dyke glanced around. "These runes, do you know what they mean?" She smiled faintly. "They're ancient symbols of protection and guidance. The forest recognizes me as kin." "Convenient," he remarked. She ignored the hint of sarcasm. "It means we have a safer passage, at least for now." He kicked a loose stone along the path. "You know, when I set out on this journey, I didn't expect to be dealing with magic forests and secret bloodlines." She chuckled softly. "Life has a way of surprising us." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Tell me more about your mother." Elizabeth's expression softened. "She was a healer, skilled in both traditional medicine and the mystical arts. She taught me to use my abilities for good." "Why did she leave the Apama?" "She disagreed with their pursuit of power at any cost. After our land was defeated by the Ashimiris, our land people have always been looking for a way to get back at us, seeking dangerous powers and secrets, plotting and scheming." Elizabeth explained. "She wanted a peaceful life, away from the conflicts that had consumed our people." He nodded, absorbing her words. "I can respect that." They walked in companionable silence for a while, the tension between them easing. "Do you think Precious can be stopped? I mean, even with this our plan, I have my doubts that she wouldn't still find a way to try and usurp the throne from Amaka," he asked eventually. Elizabeth's gaze hardened. "We have to believe so. If we can reach the shrine and break the spell on King David's mind, that should go a long way. But if Precious somehow were to find her way to the shrine of the sacred egg before us, or worst yet, a sinister evil like my Aunt Agatha, then, Dyke, I don't know what would happen." "What exactly is Agatha's goal?" Dyke inquired. "Agatha seeks revenge against our land," Elizabeth explained. "She believes the kingdom is responsible for the downfall of the Apama and wants to restore their dominance. And Precious is helping her achieve that?" "Precious craves power and recognition," she said grimly. The last time I was in a room with two of them, I could sense Agatha's desire to use Precious in some way. I just couldn't figure out how, until they restrained me and knocked me out.
Die Kehrseite.
It's all so tangled. Indeed, she agreed. But we must focus on our mission. He gave a determined nod. Then let's keep moving. Meanwhile, way behind in the forest, where Precious and Farouk were, the forest grew darker, the trees towering like silent sentinels. The path narrowed until it was barely wide enough for one person. We're being led somewhere, Farouk observed uneasily. Obviously, Precious replied. The forest acknowledges my intent, I suppose. He frowned. Or it's guiding us into a trap. She cast him an irritated look. Your pessimism is tiresome. Before he could retort, a faint glow appeared ahead, casting an eerie light through the dense foliage. Do you see that? He asked, squinting. She nodded. It's a gateway. As they approached, they saw that the glow emanated from a circle of stones inscribed with glowing symbols. This is a summoning circle, Farouk realized. That's wonderful, Precious said with an evil demeanor. Then a voice from the forest began talking. Strange travelers of the night, the voice spoke. You stand before the crossroads of the Agba evil forest. We have searched your heart, Princess Precious, and have seen that you desire to reach the Shrine of Eggs before your enemies, and prevent them from breaking the spell you cast on your father King David. Precious then replied immediately, Yes, strange one, you are precisely right. Do you wish to stop me, spirits of the forest? Precious asked boldly. Then the voice took a moment and then replied in an ominous, indifferent tone. No, Princess, I wish to give you an ultimatum. To proceed with your uncanny plot means to force our hands to strike you down, since you wish to keep manipulating the mind of one of royal blood, which is your own father. Precious then asked the voice immediately as her mind began racing. So what will it take for you to grant me passage and allow me to proceed on my quest? Mighty spirits of the forest. The voices then replied. To cast the spell it costs you 2 souls. Now to maintain the spell, it would cost you 1. Precious smirked and replied to the spirit voices. I see very well then, she said. Now as all this was happening, Farouk stood confused and disoriented. It so happened that the voices of the forest only spoke directly to Precious, with no other ears hearing. So after Precious had finished talking, he asked her in curiosity, Who were you talking to, my love? As he asked, Precious looked at him with an evil smile, refusing to respond to him as she walked robotically towards him in a scary manner. Farouk then took a cautious step back and asked her another question, hoping to be answered this time. What are you planning? He said. She would go ahead to ignore him once more, this time walking past him and then stepping into the circle that appeared in front of them, her eyes fixed on the largest stone at the center. Fulfilling the forest's requirements. Which are? She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. A blood sacrifice. Precious then screamed once more at the forest. Spirit of the forest, if I am to make this sacrifice, then I wish to ask for one more thing. I wish to summon the great Agatha to accompany me, as I am giving you my partner as a sacrifice. The spirits then responded, Very well, Princess. For the sake of your own royal blood, I shall take a soul and give you 2. Precious then smiled and raised her hands set for the ritual. Farouk stared at Precious in horror, his blood ran cold. Precious, no. Please, you can't. She smiled sadly. I'm sorry, Farouk, but this is the only way. He drew his sword defensively. You don't have to do this. There's another path. She shook her head. I've made my choice. He tightened his grip on the hilt. I won't let you harm me. She sighed. I was hoping you'd understand. With a swift motion, she whispered an incantation. The ground beneath Farouk's feet shifted, roots erupting from the soil to ensnare his legs. He struggled fiercely. What sorcery is this? Ancient magic, she replied calmly. Passed down through the Apama bloodline. His eyes widened. Your Apama? She nodded. Agatha awakened my heritage. You're being manipulated, he exclaimed. Agatha is using you for her own ends. Perhaps, she conceded, but our goals align. He fought against the roots, but they tightened their grip. Precious, please, don't do this. Her gaze hardened. Goodbye, Farouk. She raised a dagger, its blade gleaming wickedly. As she moved to strike, he mustered all his strength, breaking one arm free. He grabbed her wrist, halting the blade inches from his chest. Don't make me fight you, he pleaded. She leaned in, her voice a cold whisper. You already are. She twisted deftly, breaking his hold and driving the dagger into his side. He gasped, the pain searing. Why? He choked out. Because sacrifices must be made, she replied, withdrawing the blade. He sank to his knees, the roots releasing him as blood seeped through his fingers. She stepped back, chanting softly. The stones around them pulsed with energy, and a swirling vortex formed above the central stone. Agatha materialized within the vortex, her form solidifying as she stepped into the circle. Tall and imposing, her silver hair flowed over dark robes adorned with arcane symbols. Her eyes glinted with malice and cunning. Well done, my dear, Agatha purred, surveying the scene. You have proven your commitment. Precious inclined her head. I am ready to proceed. Agatha's gaze flicked to Farouk's fallen form. A loyal servant, sacrificed for the greater good. Admirable. Farouk's vision blurred as he watched them, his strength fading. I thought you loved me, Precious. I thought we were going to end up together. I sacrificed everything for you, he whispered. Precious then replied in a mocking tone. Yes, my love, I too thought the same, and you did serve me well for the time being. And now you've served me one last time with your life. As she said this, Farouk's dying eyes were filled with tears and anguish. He turned to Agatha, searching for a face to bear him sympathy. But Agatha just smirked and said to him in a sinister tone, Rest now, warrior. Your part is played. Precious turned away from him, focusing on Agatha. We must hurry. Elizabeth and Dyke are ahead of us. Fear not, Agatha assured her. With my presence, the forest's barriers will yield. She extended a hand, and a pathway unfurled before them, the trees bending aside as if bowing to her will. Impressive, Precious remarked. Agatha chuckled. There are perks to being an ancient sorceress. Precious then asked in curiosity, if you could have made my hunt for Dyke and Elizabeth this easy, why didn't you accompany me in the first place? Why did you allow me to go with Farouk instead? Agatha then responded immediately, Well, Princess, it is because the forest knows my intentions and just like you, would have demanded a sacrifice of a soul to pass. If I were to go with you, I might have ended up sacrificing you in my stead. Now enough with the questions, let's get moving, we have 2 rats to fish out and kill. Right? Precious responded immediately. They stepped over Farouk's motionless body, venturing deeper into the forest. Farouk lay on the cold ground, his life slipping away. As darkness encroached, he heard faint whispers, echoes of the forest spirits. Your sacrifice is noble, a gentle voice whispered. Rest now, warrior. He closed his eyes, a single tear tracing down his cheek. Meanwhile, as all this was happening, Elizabeth and Dyke, who were miles ahead in the forest, approached a clearing where the trees gave way to a shimmering river. The water glowed softly, illuminating the area with a soothing light. The enchanted river, Elizabeth identified, a place of reflection and trial. I've heard of this place from the stories. Dyke eyed the river warily. What kind of trial? She gestured to a narrow stone bridge arching over the water. We must cross, but the river will test our hearts. He nodded. Then let's face it together. They stepped onto the bridge, and immediately, the environment around them shifted. The sounds of the forest faded, replaced by a profound silence. Dyke glanced at Elizabeth. Do you feel that? She nodded, her expression tense. Stay close. As they advanced, mist rose from the river, enveloping them. Voices echoed within the fog, familiar and haunting. "Dyke!" A voice called softly. He turned, recognizing the voice of his late father. "Father, why did you leave us?" The voice questioned. "Why pursue a path that leads to destruction?" He shook his head. "I didn't leave. You passed on." "Did I?" The voice taunted. "Or did you abandon your family for glory?" Meanwhile, Elizabeth heard her mother's voice. "Elizabeth, my child, you walk a dangerous path." "Mother," she whispered, "I'm trying to make things right. By embracing the heritage I fled from," her mother chastised, "you risk becoming like them." "I'm not like them," Elizabeth insisted. "I use my abilities to help others. Power corrupts." The voice warned. "Be careful." Dyke reached out, his hand finding Elizabeth's. "Don't listen," he urged. "They're illusions." She squeezed his hand. "We must focus." The mist thickened, the voices growing louder and more accusatory. "Traitors, deceivers, unworthy." Dyke closed his eyes, centering himself. "We know who we are. We won't be swayed." Elizabeth nodded, joining him in silent resolve. Their combined determination pushed back against the oppressive atmosphere. Gradually, the mist receded, and the voices faded into silence. They opened their eyes to find themselves on the other side of the bridge. "Well done," a melodious voice praised. They turned to see a figure clad in flowing robes, her features radiant and serene. "Who are you?" Dyke asked. "I am the guardian of the enchanted river," she replied. "You have passed the trial of the heart." Elizabeth inclined her head respectfully. "Thank you." The guardian smiled warmly. "Your bond is strong. It will serve you well in the challenges ahead." "Can you offer any guidance?" Dyke inquired. She gestured to a path that led into a grove of luminous trees. "Follow this path. It will lead you to the shrine of the sacred egg." They shared a grateful glance. "We appreciate your help," Elizabeth said. "May fortune favor you," the guardian offered before fading into the ethereal light. As they continued, Dyke glanced at Elizabeth. "What did you hear back there?" She hesitated. "Voices from my past, doubts and fears." He nodded thoughtfully. "Same here." She looked at him earnestly. "Thank you for being here. I couldn't have faced that alone." He smiled softly. "We're in this together." As this was happening some distance behind them, Agatha and Precious moved swiftly along a path that seemed to part before them. The trees bent away, and obstacles vanished under Agatha's command. "At this pace, we'll overtake them soon," Precious noted. "Indeed," Agatha agreed. "Tell me, have you considered what you'll do once you possess the power of the sacred egg?" Precious's eyes gleamed. "I will solidify my rule over my kingdom, ushering in a new era. Those who opposed me will face the consequences." Agatha arched an eyebrow. "Ambitious. And what of your sister, Amaka?" Precious's expression darkened. She chose her path. She would remain locked up rotting in the dungeons beneath the palace. "She is my sister, so I won't kill her. At least she deserves that much." "Family ties can be complicated," Agatha mused. "But sometimes sacrifices are necessary." "Agreed," Precious said firmly. They reached a crossroads where the path split in 3 directions. "Which way?" Precious asked. Agatha closed her eyes, murmuring an incantation. A faint trail of light appeared along the middle path. "That way," she indicated. As they proceeded, Precious glanced at Agatha. "You mentioned the Apama lineage earlier. How extensive is our connection?" Agatha smiled slyly. "Deeper than you realize. Your mother was a distant relative of mine." Precious's eyes widened. "We're related?" "In a manner of speaking," Agatha confirmed. "The Apama blood runs through your veins, granting you untapped potential." "Why didn't I know this?" Precious demanded. "Your mother sought to keep you uninformed, perhaps fearing the power you might wield. At least that is what I think," Agatha speculated. Precious then thought out loud. "Then it's fate that we've aligned." "Precisely," Agatha agreed. "Together, we can reclaim the glory of our heritage." Meanwhile, miles ahead, Elizabeth and Dyke arrived at the base of a steep incline. Above them, the shrine of the sacred egg perched atop a plateau, its golden spires glinting in the sunlight that pierced through the canopy. "We're almost there," Elizabeth noted, a mixture of relief and anticipation in her voice. "Let's not celebrate just yet," Dyke cautioned. "We don't know what awaits us." They began the ascent, the path winding and treacherous. Loose rocks skittered underfoot, and the air grew thinner. As they climbed, Elizabeth spoke. "There's something you should know." He glanced at her. "What is it?" "Agatha, being my aunt, may try to use our familial connection against me," Elizabeth warned. "We must be prepared." "Understood," he affirmed. As they reached the summit, they stood before the grand entrance of the shrine. A magnificent archway adorned with intricate carvings depicting mythical creatures and celestial patterns. As they stepped forward, a pair of colossal stone guardians flanked the doorway, their eyes glowing with an inner light. "State your purpose," a resonant voice commanded. Elizabeth stepped forward confidently. "We seek to protect the realm by ensuring the power of the sacred egg is not misused." The guardians regarded them silently before the doors slowly swung open. "Proceed with honor," the voice intoned. They exchanged a hopeful glance before entering. Now inside, the shrine was a marvel of architecture and artistry. Columns of marble soared toward a domed ceiling painted with constellations. At the center of the chamber rested the sacred egg, hovering above an ornate pedestal and radiating a soft, pulsating glow. "This is incredible," Dyke whispered. Elizabeth approached the egg reverently. "We must act quickly." Before they could proceed, a chilling laugh echoed through the chamber. "How touching," Agatha sneered as she and Precious emerged from the shadows. Elizabeth and Dyke spun around, weapons at the ready. "Agatha," Elizabeth hissed, "how did you get here? Did you think your little head start would keep us at bay?" Agatha mocked. Precious smirked. "You're not the only ones with resources." Dyke stepped protectively in front of Elizabeth. "We won't let you take the egg." Agatha chuckled darkly. Precious drew her dagger, its blade shimmering with a sinister aura. "Stand aside, and perhaps I'll spare you." Elizabeth's eyes hardened. "We won't let you harm anyone." Agatha's gaze locked onto Elizabeth. "Niece, you could have joined us. Together, we would have been unstoppable." "I'll never be part of your schemes," Elizabeth declared. "Such a pity," Agatha sighed. "Then you leave me no choice." With a flick of her wrist, Agatha unleashed a bolt of dark energy. Elizabeth countered with a barrier of light, the opposing forces colliding with a thunderous crack. "Go!" Elizabeth shouted to Dyke. "Secure the egg." Dyke hesitated. "I won't leave you. I can hold them off," she insisted. "Trust me." Reluctantly, he moved toward the egg. Precious intercepted him, her dagger poised. "Not so fast." He drew his sword, engaging her in combat. Their blades clashed, sparks flying as metal met metal. "You're outmatched," Precious taunted. "Surrender now." "Never," he growled, parrying her strikes. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Agatha circled each other, arcane energies swirling around them. "You've grown strong," Agatha acknowledged, "but you're no match for me." "We'll see about that," Elizabeth retorted. They exchanged spells, the chamber shaking with the force of their battle. Pillars cracked, and shards of marble rained down. Dyke pressed his advantage against Precious, but she was nimble and cunning. Feigning a misstep, she lured him into overextending, then slashed his leg with her poisoned dagger. He hissed in pain, feeling the venom course through his veins. "What have you done?" "Just leveling the playing field," she sneered. He staggered, his movements slowing. Elizabeth glanced over, concern flashing across her face. "Dyke!" Agatha seized the distraction, striking Elizabeth with a blast of dark magic that sent her sprawling. "You can't save them both," Agatha taunted. Elizabeth struggled to her feet, determination blazing in her eyes. "I won't let you win." Drawing upon her deepest reserves, she began chanting an ancient spell, a powerful incantation her mother had taught her, one that required immense sacrifice. Agatha's eyes widened. "You wouldn't dare." Elizabeth's voice rose, the words echoing with power. "By the light within, I banished the darkness." A brilliant aura enveloped her, expanding outward. Agatha recoiled, attempting to shield herself. "Stop!" Agatha screamed. "You'll destroy us both." "That's the idea," Elizabeth replied resolutely. The light intensified, engulfing Agatha. A piercing scream echoed as the sorceress was consumed by the radiant energy. Precious shielded her eyes, backing away. When the light faded, Elizabeth collapsed to the ground, her strength spent. Dyke stumbled toward her, the poison sapping his vitality. "Elizabeth, no." He cradled her in his arms as she gazed up at him weakly. "It's over," she whispered. "Save your strength," he urged. "We'll get you help." She smiled faintly. "I'm glad I could protect you." Tears welled in his eyes. "Don't leave me." Her gaze softened. "Remember, you have a wish." His heart clenched. "What of the king?" She nodded slowly. "You are right. That is more important. Then I guess this is goodbye. Tell Amaka I'm sorry for everything." Her eyes closed and her breathing ceased. "Elizabeth!" he cried, his voice breaking. Precious watched from a distance, a conflicted expression on her face. For a moment, remorse flickered in her eyes before being replaced by steely resolve. She approached the egg, reaching out to claim its power. Dyke laid Elizabeth gently on the ground, a fiery determination igniting within him. Ignoring the pain, he surged to his feet, intercepting Precious before she could touch the egg. "Get out of my way," she snarled. He blocked her path. "I won't let you harm anyone else." She lashed out with her dagger, but he deflected the blow, using his remaining strength to disarm her. "You're finished," he declared. She glared at him defiantly. "You can't stop me." He grasped the egg, feeling its energy resonate. "I wish for the curse on King David to be broken and for peace to return to my kingdom." The egg glowed brilliantly, its power surging through the chamber. "Your wish is granted," a serene voice proclaimed. Dyke turned to Precious. "It's over. Surrender." She looked around desperately. "No, this can't be." In a final act of defiance, she attempted to attack, but he deftly avoided her strike, rendering her unconscious with a swift blow. Breathing heavily, he looked around. Agatha's body had disintegrated, leaving only ashes. Elizabeth lay still, peaceful in death. He approached Elizabeth once more, lifting her gently. "I won't leave you here," and in an act of mercy resolved to carry Precious, who was unconscious, back to the kingdom for her to get justice. With Precious slung over one shoulder and Elizabeth cradled in his arms, he began the arduous journey back to the kingdom. Now back at the palace, King David awoke with a startled face. His mind was clear for the first time in days. "Where am I?" he mumbled. Servants rushed to his side. "Your Majesty, you're awake." He rubbed his temples. "What's happened?" One of the advisors stepped forward hesitantly. "There's much to explain, sire." "Where is Amaka?" the king demanded. "She's been imprisoned under your orders," the advisor confessed. His eyes widened in horror. "What? Release her at once." "Yes, your Majesty." Minutes later, Amaka burst into the room, tears streaming down her face. "Father!" He embraced her tightly. "My dear child." Forgive me. You're back, she sobbed. I knew you'd return. He held her at arm's length. Tell me everything. Early the next morning, Dyke trudged toward the palace gates, Elizabeth cradled in his arms and Precious slung over his shoulder. Guards rushed forward upon recognizing him. Wait, aren't you the hunter, Dyke? The one the king sent the Ashamaries after? What has happened? One called out. He halted, exhaustion etched into his features. I need to see the king immediately. Very well, the palace guard responded. They escorted him inside, word spreading quickly through the palace. King David, now free from the enchantment, met them in the grand hall, concern evident in his eyes. Dyke, what is the meaning of this? The king demanded gently. Dyke lowered Precious to the floor, gesturing for guards to secure her. Your Majesty, the spell cast on your mind by your daughter Princess Precious has been lifted, but at great cost. He laid Elizabeth's body before the king. Elizabeth, the girl who was once best friends with your daughter Amaka, sacrificed herself to restore your mind, saving us all from Precious's doom. King David's expression softened with sorrow. She was a brave soul, he said in a regretful tone. Amaka entered the hall, her eyes widening at the sight. Dyke, my love. She hugged him intimately. What's happened? How did you get here? Why are Elizabeth and my sister lying on the ground all battered and bruised? He met her gaze, his voice heavy. My love, we have much to discuss. Then Dyke fainted almost immediately out of exhaustion. Amaka then screamed, Guards! Guards! Get the traditional medicine men. Guards! Help him! She screamed. Dyke would be rushed out of the palace to be treated. Days would pass as Dyke would be reprimanded at his house, as he healed and regained his strength from the journey he embarked on. Palace guards and royal healers were placed at his service to protect him and help him heal faster. But even with all these things, there were nights during this period that he couldn't sleep because he was constantly being hunted by nightmares of the trauma he experienced back at the Agba Evil Forest. Elizabeth's sudden death really took a toll on him, even if their relationship was short-lived. He felt she really grew on him, and he hated himself for not being able to save her. Amaka occasionally came to check up on him, but he usually pushed her away softly, as he preferred going through his now acquired trauma alone. His torment, coupled with his recovery, went on for about a week, until one day he decided to visit Amaka at the palace. Amaka stood on the balcony of her chambers, gazing out over the kingdom she loved. Her tall, muscular frame was silhouetted against the soft light, a constant reminder of the curse that had befallen her. She sighed deeply, her thoughts consumed by the events of the past couple of weeks. A soft knock on the door pulled her from her reverie. Come in, she called, turning to see who had disturbed her solitude. The door creaked open to reveal Dyke, his expression somber yet determined. Dyke, she acknowledged with a faint smile. How are you feeling? He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. Better, thanks to the rest, he replied. But there's something we need to discuss. She raised an eyebrow. Is this about Elizabeth? He nodded, his eyes searching hers. I believe we can bring her back. Amaka crossed her arms, her gaze steady. And how do you propose we do that? By journeying into the Agba Evil Forest, like we once planned to do, he explained. Using your wish at the shrine of the sacred egg, we can restore her to life. She studied him for a moment. You want me to use my wish to bring Elizabeth back? Yes, he affirmed. She sacrificed herself to save us all. It's the least we can do. Amaka turned away, walking back toward the balcony. It's not that simple, Dyke. He followed her, his tone gentle. I know it's a lot to ask, but she cut him off. I'll think about it. A silence settled between them, heavy with unspoken words. "Very well," he conceded. "But we shouldn't delay too long." She nodded absently. "I understand." He hesitated before speaking again. "Amaka, there's something else." She glanced at him. "Yes." He took a deep breath. "While I was in the forest with Elizabeth, certain feelings surfaced." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "What kind of feelings?" "Confusion, mostly," he admitted. "But I want you to know that my loyalty remains with you." She offered a thin smile. "Thank you for your honesty." He inclined his head. "I'll leave you to your thoughts." As he turned to leave, she called after him. "Dyke." He paused, looking back. "Yes, I appreciate you coming to me," she said softly. He smiled gently. "Always." Once he was gone, Amaka let out a weary sigh. Her heart was a tangle of emotions. Grief for Elizabeth, uncertainty about Dyke, and the looming responsibility of her position. She needed clarity, and there was only one place she could think to find it. Descending into the dimly lit corridors beneath the palace, Amaka made her way toward the dungeons. The guards stood at attention as she approached, their armor gleaming even in the low light. "Princess Amaka," one of them greeted with a bow. "What brings you here?" "I'm here to see my sister," she replied firmly. They exchanged a hesitant glance. "As you wish, Your Highness." They led her down a narrow passageway until they reached a heavy wooden door reinforced with iron bands. "She's inside," the guard informed her, unlocking the door. Amaka took a deep breath before stepping into the cell. The air was cool and damp, and the only light came from a small window high above. Precious sat on a simple cot, her once elegant attire replaced by a plain, rough-spun dress. Her hair hung loose around her face, and her eyes stared blankly at the wall. "Precious," Amaka began softly. Her sister didn't respond, her gaze remaining fixed ahead. Amaka moved closer. "I wanted to see how you were." Still no response. "Precious, please," she implored. "Talk to me." Slowly, Precious turned her head, her eyes meeting Amaka's with a cold intensity. "What do you want?" Amaka swallowed hard. "I wanted to understand why." A bitter smile twisted Precious's lips. "Why what?" "Why you did all of this," Amaka clarified. "Why you turned against us." Precious laughed hollowly. "You wouldn't understand." "Then help me," Amaka urged. "Make me understand." She stood up abruptly, chains clinking as she moved. "All my life, I've been overshadowed by you, the perfect daughter, the beloved princess. I was nothing more than a shadow." "That's not true," Amaka protested. "Father and I have always loved you." "Love," Precious spat. "Don't make me laugh. You never saw me." "Not really." Amaka shook her head. "We saw you as you were, a strong, intelligent young woman with so much potential. Potential wasted in your shadow," Precious retorted. "No matter what I did, it was never enough." "That's not how we felt," Amaka insisted. "We wanted you to succeed in your own way." "Spare me your platitudes," Precious snapped. "Even now you stand there, pitying me." Amaka's eyes softened. "I don't pity you. I mourn what we've lost." Precious's gaze hardened. "I don't need your mourning. I made my choices." Amaka stepped closer. "But it doesn't have to end like this." "And how should it end?" Precious challenged. "With me groveling for forgiveness? Begging for scraps of affection?" "No," Amaka replied gently. "With us finding a way forward together." Precious scoffed. "There is no together. Not anymore." A heavy silence filled the room. Amaka searched her sister's face for any sign of remorse, but found none. "Is there nothing I can say to reach you?" she asked quietly. Nothing, Precious confirmed coldly. Amaka nodded slowly, resignation settling in. Then I hope you find peace, wherever your path takes you. Save your hopes for someone who cares, Precious retorted, turning away. Feeling a mix of sorrow and frustration, Amaka turned to leave. As she reached the door, she paused. Despite everything, I still love you, she said softly. Precious didn't respond, her back remaining turned. Amaka stepped out of the cell, the door closing heavily behind her. Later that day, the grand hall of the palace was filled with a solemn assembly. Advisors, nobles, and guards stood in respectful silence as King David took his place on the throne. His eyes, once clouded by enchantment, now held a steely resolve. At the center of the hall, Precious stood in chains, flanked by guards. Her head was held high, defiance etched into her features. Amaka stood to the side, her heart aching at the sight of her sister. King David's voice resonated through the hall. Precious, my beloved daughter, you stand accused of treason, conspiracy, and the endangerment of this kingdom. She met his gaze unflinchingly. I am aware. He hesitated for a moment, pain flickering in his eyes. Have you anything to say in your defense? No defense would satisfy you, she replied coolly. He sighed heavily. Your actions have left me no choice. Amaka stepped forward. Father, please, there must be another way. He looked at her sadly. Amaka, she has betrayed us all. The safety of the kingdom must come first. But banishment? Amaka pleaded. Surely we can find a way to. Enough, Precious interjected sharply. I don't need your mercy. King David's expression hardened. As of this day, you are stripped of all titles, lands, and holdings. You are exiled from Odimba, never to return under penalty of death. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Precious smirked. Perhaps now I can truly be free. Amaka's eyes filled with tears. Precious. She ignored her sister's anguish, her gaze fixed on the king. Is that all, father? He clenched his jaw. Escort her from the palace. She is to leave the kingdom immediately. The guards moved to comply, leading Precious away. As she was taken past Amaka, she paused briefly. Goodbye, sister. Enjoy your perfect life. Amaka reached out, but Precious pulled away, continuing down the hall without a backward glance. Once she was gone, the weight of the moment settled heavily. Amaka turned to her father. Was this truly necessary? She asked softly. He looked weary. I wish it weren't, but her actions demanded consequences. She nodded sadly. I understand. King David placed a hand on her shoulder. Come, we have much to discuss. Over the next few days, life in the palace resumed its usual rhythm, though a somber atmosphere lingered. Amaka busied herself with royal duties, but her thoughts frequently drifted to her sister and the unresolved tensions. One afternoon, as she was reviewing documents in the library, Dyke entered quietly. Amaka, he greeted. She looked up, offering a small smile. Dyke, how are you feeling? Restless, he admitted. I've been thinking about our conversation. She set aside the parchment. About Elizabeth? Yes, he confirmed. Have you given it any more thought? She sighed. I have. And I've decided to help you, she revealed. We'll go to the Agba Evil Forest together. Relief washed over his features. Thank you. She held up a hand. But I need to understand something first. He nodded cautiously. Of course. Why is it so important to you that we bring her back? She asked. Elizabeth betrayed us, aligned herself with Precious and Agatha. Why risk so much for her? He considered his words carefully. Elizabeth made mistakes, yes, but in the end, she sacrificed herself to save us all. Without her, we might not have broken the curse on your father. Amaka studied him. Is that the only reason? He met her gaze steadily. I won't deny that I care for her. She became a friend during our journey. A friend? She echoed skeptically. Yes, he affirmed. But my loyalty remains with you. She looked away. I suppose I can't blame you for developing feelings during such an ordeal. Amaka, he began gently. I value our relationship above all else. She sighed. It's not that simple. Then help me understand, he urged. She hesitated before speaking. I can't help but wonder if you fell in love with her. He was taken aback. I don't know. Her expression tightened. That's not very reassuring. He reached for her hand. Please, believe me when I say that you are the one I care for most deeply. She withdrew her hand. Actions speak louder than words, Dyke. He nodded solemnly. Then let me prove it to you. She regarded him thoughtfully. Very well. We'll embark on this journey together. And perhaps we'll find the clarity we both need. Thank you, he said earnestly. She stood, gathering her things. We should prepare to leave soon. Agreed, he replied. I'll make the necessary arrangements. As he turned to go, she called after him. Dyke. He paused. Yes, let's be honest with each other, she requested. No more secrets. He smiled softly. No more secrets. The following morning, Amaka and Dyke set out from the palace, accompanied by a small contingent of guards for the initial leg of their journey. The sun was just cresting the horizon, casting a golden hue over the landscape. As they rode, the silence between them was comfortable but charged with unspoken thoughts. After several hours, they reached the outskirts of the Agba Evil Forest. The guards halted. This is as far as we go, Your Highness, the captain informed them. Amaka nodded. Thank you for your service. Safe travels, he replied, bowing respectfully. She and Dyke dismounted, securing their horses. Ready? He asked. She adjusted the pack on her shoulder. As I'll ever be. They stepped into the forest, the dense canopy filtering the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. The air was cool and filled with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant bird calls. Dyke glanced at her. I've been here before, but it feels different this time. She gave a slight smile. Perhaps because our purpose is different. Perhaps, he agreed. They walked in silence for a while, the path winding deeper into the woods. Tell me about your journey with Elizabeth, Amaka prompted suddenly. He looked at her, surprised. What would you like to know? Everything, she replied. I want to understand what happened. He took a deep breath. After we left the palace, we faced several challenges. The forest tested us, physically and emotionally. Go on, she encouraged. He recounted their encounters with the enchanted river, the whispering trees, and the trials they had faced. She saved my life more than once, he admitted. And I saved hers. Amaka listened intently. And that's when you grew close? Yes, he acknowledged. We learned to trust each other. She was silent for a moment. Did she ever speak of me? Often, he revealed. She regretted her actions and wanted to make amends. Amaka's expression softened. I see. They continued walking, the path growing narrower. Why didn't you wish for her to come back when you had the chance? She asked quietly. He sighed. The forest grants only one wish per person. I used mine to break the curse on your father. I thought it was the right thing to do. She nodded thoughtfully. I understand. Do you? He pressed gently. She met his gaze. I believe so. You chose the greater good over personal desires. He smiled ruefully. Something like that. They reached a fork in the path. Amaka studied the two options. Which way? Dyke asked. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. The left feels inviting. He raised an eyebrow. Inviting? In this forest. She opened her eyes, a hint of amusement in them. Trust me, he chuckled. Always. They took the left path, which led them to a serene glade. Sunlight streamed through the trees, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. "It's beautiful," she remarked. "Indeed," he agreed. At the center of the glade stood a stone archway covered in vines and ancient symbols. "A gateway," Dyke observed. Amaka approached it cautiously. "It seems we're expected." As they stepped through the archway, the atmosphere shifted. The sounds of the forest faded, replaced by a profound silence. "Stay close," she advised. They walked onward, the path now bordered by tall, ethereal trees that seemed to glow with an inner light. "Is it just me, or is everything luminous?" Dyke asked. "It's not just you," she confirmed. A figure emerged ahead, a tall woman with flowing silver hair and eyes that shimmered like stars. "Welcome, travelers," she greeted in a melodic voice. "Who are you?" Amaka inquired. "I am the guardian of paths," the woman replied. "You seek the shrine of the sacred egg." "Yes," Dyke affirmed. "We wish to make use of its power." The guardian regarded them thoughtfully. "To reach it, you must each face a trial." "Another trial," Dyke muttered. Amaka glanced at him before addressing the guardian. "What are these trials?" She extended her hand, and 2 orbs of light appeared. "You will be separated. Each orb will guide you to your individual test." Dyke frowned. "Separated. It is necessary," the guardian insisted. "Only by confronting your inner selves can you proceed." Amaka squared her shoulders. "Very well." The orbs floated toward them, hovering expectantly. "Good luck," Dyke said softly. "You too," she replied. They each followed their respective orb, the paths diverging. Amaka's orb led her to a tranquil pond surrounded by weeping willows. The surface of the water was so still it resembled a mirror. "Approach," a voice echoed. She stepped closer, peering into the water. Her reflection stared back, but instead of her current form, she saw herself as she was supposed to look like without the curse. Slender and graceful. "Do you desire to return to this form?" the voice asked. She hesitated. I don't know. Honesty is required," the voice prompted. She took a deep breath. "Part of me does. I really wish to be born like a normal girl." "Then why not use your wish to restore yourself?" the voice pressed. She frowned. "Because there are greater needs." "Are you certain?" the voice challenged. "Your own happiness is not insignificant." She looked away from the reflection. "I care for my people, for those I love. If I can help them, I will. Even at the cost of your own desires?" "Yes," she affirmed. The pond shimmered, and the reflection changed to show Elizabeth's face. "She betrayed you," the voice reminded. "Why save her?" Amaka gazed at the image. "Because everyone deserves a second chance. And perhaps I wasn't there for her when she needed me." "Compassion is admirable," the voice acknowledged. "But be wary of misplaced trust." "I'll take that risk," she declared. The water stilled once more, and the voice fell silent. "Have I passed your test?" she asked aloud. The orb reappeared, glowing brightly. "You have shown selflessness and clarity of purpose. You may proceed." She felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you." Meanwhile, Dyke followed his orb to a clearing filled with mist. Shadows danced at the edges of his vision, and whispers filled the air. "Who are you?" a multitude of voices questioned. "I am Dyke," he replied, turning in circles to locate the source. "Who are you truly?" the voices pressed. He paused. "A protector, a servant of the kingdom. Is that all?" They taunted. He clenched his fists. "What do you want from me?" "Truth," they demanded. "Do you love Amaka?" He hesitated. "Yes." "And Elizabeth?" they queried. He closed his eyes. "I cared for her." "Love and care are different," the voices insisted. "Which is it?" He took a deep breath. "I love Amaka. Elizabeth was a friend, a companion in adversity." "Are you certain?" they challenged. "Yes," he affirmed more firmly. The whispers intensified. "Do you regret not saving Elizabeth?" "Of course," he admitted. "But I made the choice I thought was best." Would you choose differently if given the chance? They pressed. He shook his head. No. The kingdom needed the spell on King David's mind to be lifted. The mist began to dissipate, the shadows receding. You have faced your doubts, the voices acknowledged. You may proceed. He exhaled in relief. Thank you. Reunited, Amaka and Dyke continued along the path, which now led upward toward a magnificent structure nestled among the trees. The shrine, Amaka observed. They approached the entrance, which was adorned with intricate carvings and symbols. As they stepped inside, a serene atmosphere enveloped them. At the center of the chamber stood the sacred egg, pulsating with a gentle light. It's beautiful, Dyke whispered. Amaka nodded, stepping forward. This is it. She turned to him. Are you ready? He smiled softly. It's your wish to make. She hesitated. Dyke, I need to know. Do you support my decision? Whatever you choose, I stand with you, he assured her. She took a deep breath, placing her hands on the egg. I wish for Elizabeth to be restored to life. The egg glowed brighter, its light enveloping the chamber. A voice resonated. Your wish is granted. As the light faded, a figure appeared at the edge of the chamber. Elizabeth, her eyes closed as if in peaceful sleep. Elizabeth, Amaka exclaimed, rushing to her side. Elizabeth's eyes fluttered open. Amaka? She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Yes, it's me. Elizabeth sat up slowly, confusion mingling with relief. How? You've been given a second chance, Amaka explained. Elizabeth's gaze shifted to Dyke, who stood a few paces behind. Dyke, he smiled warmly. Welcome back. She looked between them, emotions swirling. I don't understand. Amaka helped her to her feet. We came to bring you back. Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. After everything I've done? Amaka nodded. We all make mistakes. What's important is what we do with the chance to make things right. Elizabeth's voice trembled. I'm so sorry. For betraying you. For everything. Amaka embraced her tightly. I forgive you. They held each other for a long moment, the weight of past grievances lifting. Dyke approached cautiously. It's good to see you. She pulled back from Amaka, wiping her eyes. Thank you for believing in me. He nodded. We couldn't have done it without you. She looked down. I don't know how to repay you. Amaka placed a hand on her shoulder. By living well and helping us rebuild. Elizabeth smiled softly. I will. A few weeks later, King David would throw Dyke and Amaka a royal grand wedding, which all the villagers were in attendance. Amaka would finally realize that she didn't need to change her body to find love or friends. All she needed was to stay true to her heart. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the last segment to this beautiful story, please drop a like on the video and leave a comment on your favorite aspects of the story, morale lessons, character arcs, and so on. Also share the story with your friends and family. It's been a long way getting here, and I really appreciate all of you who watched all 5 parts of the story till the end. Thank you once again, and do subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next story. And as always, do have a lovely day. Thank you.